So at the core of your being, meaning in the eternity of now, which is not in thought, at the core of your being is the silent stillness, the silent stillness of being. The silent stillness of the I, the causeless peace. That is imperturbable. What you truly are is not personal, is formless, causeless, boundaryless. Lacking nothing, seeking nothing. There is only one I, only one self. Whenever we are imagining this one self to be many selves, we are having a dream conversation. We are entertaining images. And we experience the spin of thought, turmoil, inner turmoil. And because we have engaged in the realm of thought and imagining, when we experience this turmoil, we resort to more thought to help us. It is like when there is a fire, the firefighters come to put out the fire with a tank full of gasoline, believing that they are pumping water on the fire. When you imagine yourself to be a person, you say yes to that. You say yes to the conceptual me, the conceptual self. Then you will experience the entire package that comes with that initial I thought, which is the multiple stories, unending images about yourself. As a person, we experience personal issues, personal effect. We are personally affected. As a person, we are identified with the image, which is what a person is. It's a set of images. And with this identification with the images, there is a concern about the image. Is it liked? Is it popular? Does it look good? And all the feelings that come with that. Thought is movement, but so is the wind. When the wind moves and the leaves and the branches in the forest are moving, do we experience that something is happening to us? Thoughts are movement of a different nature, but not so different than the movement of the wind. And the feelings in the body are also a movement, not so different from the movement of thought or the movement of the wind in the forest. But as soon as we are arguing with the wind, as soon as we are arguing with the feelings, we experience the argumentation, which is standing apart, separating ourselves as a separate subject. And we experience the edges of that separation and the isolation. Although it is all imagination, It's not a happy dream. Issues to resolve, problems are perceived, calling to be resolved. And that inner tension what is at stake? What is really, really at stake? When we are not holding on to anything, when we are open, there is a natural flow, an innate intelligence that guides you to seek warmth when it's cold, seek rest when you are tired, when the body is tired, which is very different from I am tired, the psychological tiredness. What are we looking for? Where are we going? Is it possible to be at peace this very moment? To relax as being, to recognize the relaxation of being. And to live out of that freedom, out of that relaxation. Because it is not about inactivity or about activity. It is about the freedom and celebrating the freedom and recognizing over and over that is untouched and uncaused. Who are you? What are you? What is it that hears these words before the name arises, before thought arises? You are before thought arises. So can every one of our steps be a step that is blessed, stepping in the direction of the light, and recognizing this spaciousness of being, that no one can hold on to it because there is nothing outside of it. There is no one to hold on to it. It's a simple recognition, the self recognizing itself. And everything that appears to you in your complete intimacy and poses no threat to you. Because there is nothing outside of you that may threaten you. Only you imagine an external power as you have withdrawn yourself into and as a separate power, while all along you are the wholeness, the one power, the one reality. That you cannot divide. It is indivisible. So bathe into being, bathe as being, be the being that you are. Invite that, allow that, live that, be that. Without any need to be anyone or anybody, no matter how beautiful the image is. It's not what you are. You are the transparency of being, the vastness of being, the formless self. Refresh that recognition and keep that recognition fresh. In the eternity of being, the eternity of now, the eternity of being, that knows not the past, has no past or future, that is completely free of thought, free of concern. The mind at rest and ease. So I bless you in your journey. And I welcome whatever questions you may have. Ooh.
I have copied a quote from Ramana, and I'm curious about it. It's a little bit, theoretical Vedanta, you might say, and I don't want if it looks too technical or something, you could just say so. But I could pop it up there if you
Okay.
like. So let's see. Oh my gosh, how did it get so long?
It is long one.
No, I didn't mean for. I don't think I meant. Let me just.
And let me read
Okay.
part of it, and you can stop.
I can tell you the part that I think is most interesting to me.
Okay.
In his standard reply to questions about the effectiveness of self-inquiry, let's see. Okay, I'll back up a little bit. Actually, the whole thing is pretty concise. Maybe I'll read it out loud. It'll only take about 2 minutes, maybe.
Okay.
Another widespread misunderstanding arose from the Hindu belief that the self could be discovered by mentally rejecting all of the objects of thought and perception as not self. Traditionally, this is called the neti-neti approach, not this, which I did for years, really, really assiduously. The practitioner of this system verbally rejects all of the objects that the I identifies with. I'm not the mind, I'm not the body, etc. In the expectation that the real I will eventually be experienced in its pure, uncontaminated form. Hinduism calls this practice self-inquiry, and because of the identity of names, it was often confused with Sri Ramana's method. Sri Ramana's attitude to this traditional system of self-analysis was wholly negative, and he discouraged his own followers from practicing it by telling them that it was an intellectual activity which could not take them beyond the mind. In his standard reply to questions about the effectiveness of this practice, he would say that the I thought is sustained by such acts of discrimination, and that the I which eliminates the body and the mind as not I can never eliminate itself. Sorry, that's kind of long, but it's something I've been pondering a lot lately. So even though it's a little bit conceptual, I thought maybe you could say something.
Yes. So, okay, so imagine that you live in down south somewhere. It's very hot and humid, and there are flies that come into your house. You have the fly swapper.
Swatter.
Swatter. You have a fly swatter, and so you are in the house, and you hear zzz, and you're looking, and you see the fly. It lands on the curtain. Pump. You swap it, and then there's another one. On the table, etc. So you are very good at hearing and perceiving and swatting the flies with the swapper. So that makes you a very good fly swapper, you see. Now, there is more to it than that, because you still, even when there isn't a fly, you are, somehow the fly alert is inside of you.
Yeah.
And you may even sometimes you may hear a little buzz and you think it's a fly, but it maybe was not the fly. It was
it's the stereo.
Sound. Yes. So I think that somehow this analogy is coming to mind in the neti-neti approach, and to use the neti approach for as an Atma Vishara to inquiry into the self and to awaken to the self, and to just be a fly swapper is not enough. What matters is when you are done with the flies and you close the screen, then you really enjoy being free. You no longer, it served its purpose, and now you can celebrate enjoying being in your house and cooking,
Right.
etc. To speak directly in the non-dual lingo, so the neti contemplation that I am not the thoughts that appear to me, I am not the perceptions that appear to me, I am not the sensations that appear to me, are very important to free you from the identity with the forms, with the thoughts, the perception, and the sensation. But it does not reveal to you what you truly are. It doesn't reveal to you what you are. Because there is a further step beyond neti, which is that I am presence and I am this aware presence. And the aware presence is now not any form. It's not a form. It's the formless presence. You recognize that that's what I is in your very experience. That's an important process for understanding post neti. And post this understanding that I am consciousness, there is an understanding that is non-conceptual. It may have conceptual aspects to it, but it cannot remain at the conceptual level. It has to go to the dissolution level, let's say, which is that the I that is now consciousness, the formless self, is the reality of everything, experientially.
What's that word?
Experientially.
Yes.
You have an experiential understanding that I am everything. So there is in the final understanding that I am everything, a dissolution of the faint senses of duality that remain merged into the self. It's a merging into the self. And so in the Atma Vishara, it is post neti. So post neti, we are asking, what am I truly? So the what am I truly is a question, an inquiry that is posed, but not to the mind. It is posed to consciousness. It's posed from consciousness to consciousness, and consciousness does not contract around any question. Consciousness looks at every question from its freedom, from its non-movement. Consciousness does not move towards a question or moves away, doesn't move towards or moves away. It's pure isness. Contemplation of what am I truly is the contemplation in the space of being, of isness.
Right.
And so there is a suspension of that question in your not knowing, in the beingness. Not knowing means it's not contracted around a knowledge, a specific knowledge. It's just
right.
And as long as the mind and the past isn't invited to look at this question is taken by grace, in the hands of grace, and is answered by grace.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because delving back into a conceptual exploration of the issue is just out of the grace zone. It's in the mind zone.
Well, the there is a higher reasoning when you are looking,
Mm-hmm.
contemplating a certain
Mhm.
question using high reasoning.
Mhm.
You are using the mind, but you're using the mind strictly at the service of
Mhm.
the awakened understanding.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's very different from thinking about
Mhm. Yeah.
topic. It's a very particular type of use of the mind, and it's used quite frequently in the teaching, in the sharing of the teaching.
Mhm. Mhm.
We use the higher reasoning, so there is a comprehension. Aha!
Mhm.
I understand. I understand that. And these ahas, these understandings that are at the mind level, but at the higher reasoning level,
Mhm.
there are many insights of sort, and they sort of connect with each other.
Mhm.
And as they connect with each other, at some point, they there is a shift, or maybe gradual shift,
Mhm.
uh, in not just your understanding, your perception, but also in your sense of being. Your sense of being
Mhm.
starts to unwind, to uh, to uh, to release. Let's see. Oh, okay. Um, Jean, saw your question. Let me see. And uh, okay, okay, okay. Anjan wrote grace equal heart minus mind. Yes. Okay. So, in fact, the, the, the true understanding is not intellectual. True understanding is at a different level. It's at the level of consciousness. It's not at
Mhm.
the level of the mind. Then the mind may sort of verbalize or formulate
Mhm. Mhm.
the understanding in a language that is sort of a mind language. But the understanding is not at the mind level. You could say that when you are hearing a joke, somebody didn't tell you the joke.
Mhm.
Yes, they give you the first sentence and next and the next and the next, which is all mind. And at some point, they they say the punchline, or
Mhm.
and at that moment there is something, there is the understanding and the laughter. That's the mind brought you to the edge of the precipice, if you want to use that term, and then there is the understanding and the laughter. And then, of course, the mind rises again, says, "Oh, that was a good joke. I really like that." You see. So in between the unfolding of the story and the appreciation of the joke, there is that no mind.
A wordless comprehension.
Yes, I would say wordless comprehension. Yes, and
Yeah.
non-mind. Yes.
Well, in our last talk, I guess it was last Thursday, after talking a while about the questions of what is me, we talked about it quite a bit, and then you said, look at it, take the whole issue from being and just being and being. I really like that. When I rewatched the conversation on YouTube, it was, oh yeah, it seems so simple. It seems so simple. Instead of reigniting the question on a more relative level, you might say, is just that from a being level, it's like it's actually pretty clear. It's like, so why go into that again and again?
Yeah. We have a tendency to confuse fiction with reality.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay true to reality, meaning if you contemplate whatever you are contemplating, the reality of what you are contemplating,
Mm-hmm.
what you're contemplating as an appearance. If you bring your contemplation, say, okay, fine, I'm perceiving this. What is its reality? So, because if I'm perceiving something, and it is, there are two possibilities: or I'm dreaming a pink flying elephant, or there is something real that I'm perceiving. Now, if I'm perceiving a pink flying elephant, I could even ask myself, well, what is the reality of that?
Mm-hmm.
What is the reality of the pink flying elephant? And that's very simple. I can look at it. Say, well, the pink flying elephant is an appearance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Appears to me between 2:15 and 2:45 a.m.
Yeah, right.
And, there is no denying that there was this pink flying elephant appearance, but
Uh-huh.
reality is not there. So
Mm-hmm.
so its reality cannot disappear. If the reality of something disappears,
That means it existed.
all right, well, it means it existed. It was not. It was not. Uh, 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 so the contemplation. Let me just check this here. Okay. Some messages I cannot see when they're sent to me. So the contemplation of the reality of whatever you're contemplating it's a good direction to be contemplating, to be looking in. Yes.
Or maybe I would put it this way: the reality of the contemplator, which is just actually consciousness,
Yes.
only interested in truth and only
Right.
interested in being, really.
So if you say, okay, there is a contemplator, say, okay, it's a good place to start. So there is a contemplator, and the reality of the contemplator must be here right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So before we call it contemplator, let's say when we say contemplator, we must be referring to something, something. And
Right.
referring to something that is real, that means it's real across the board,
Mm-hmm.
across the board. So already that's a very big hint, because we can ask, well, what is it that's real across the board? It's
Right.
not weather, it's not my partner appearing, disappearing, it's not my
It's
job.
obviously, it's related to neti, but it goes beyond. I think that's the cool thing.
Yes, it's right. It's right. So you say, well, you come to consciousness that there's one reality, and it's consciousness, the I,
Mm-hmm.
that is not perceived, not something that is conceived or perceived.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just to stay with that, for a couple of hours a day if you can, or here and there, just to stay
Yeah.
with it. It's very sobering. It sort of wakes you up from all the dreams that you are contemplating, and feeling throughout your life.
Yeah. Right. Now it just really caught my attention when you said, do it for a couple hours a day or whatever. And it's like, I know that you're not it's not practice oriented, but it's like, oh yeah, any shift in that any shift in that direction is the good thing. You know, it's if at work it's busy and it seems like it's not totally there, then focus in later. But
what matters in practice is that you are loving it, you're enjoying it. Like if you don't know how to play the guitar, but you like to play the guitar, and you buy a guitar or somebody gives
you can learn so much in a week, more than 2 years of.
The point is that, you know, the guitar is laying around in your living room or wherever
for 30 years.
Yeah,
For 30 years in my case.
30 years. You pick it up and you play with it whenever you feel like it. You know, you do it out of your love, you see. So
but when you really love it, then in a short time you actually are playing it, you know.
Yeah. Whether you're a slow learner or fast learner doesn't matter, because you're enjoying. Like, and there's a beauty to that. It's not so much about the result, you know, because we already are the self.
Oh, you already are the result, yeah. Well, you know, when you say that, it's funny, because I literally have had this for 30 years.
Okay.
It's beautiful. And I barely. Fortunately, my inquiry has gone further than my guitar playing. Anyway, if you have other people on, did you receive other questions? I'm happy to.
No, but we can see if there are.
Ask and see.
Yes.
I bet there's some other questions. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Magdi,
Yes, Esther.
I'm going to say something because it's related to what was shared there with Ananda. And not too long ago, I was reading Jean Klein, and he said, you understand when you see that nothing keeps its promise. And that really hit me, and that's exactly kind of what's happening. It's not so much asking the question, neti, or looking at things and seeing if they're real or not. It's like a very, very, in my case, a very subtle growing preference for what's real. And everything else is just automatically and naturally kind of like on the back burner. So it's kind of a recognition that the growing awareness is just a very natural thing that happens if I pay attention to what's real.
Yes. Yes.
Things just fall away.
Yes. The things that are meant to fall away, fall away. The things that have a falling away quality to them fall away. That does not fall away, does not arise or fall away. That never falls away. It never comes and goes. So the impermanent cannot deliver the goods. Only what is permanent delivers the permanent. Only the permanent, only the eternal is what reveals the eternal. What is meant to drop away, what is temporary, the thoughts, the plans, the ideas, the me feelings, all of that cannot deliver or reveal the absolute. Only the absolute reveals the absolute. And in this understanding, our appreciation and our attention, our love is towards the absolute. I'm not talking about a God or somebody out there. I'm talking that does not come and go. And we know that does not come and go as our very self, as consciousness, beingness. It really doesn't need any words. So rather than seeking the eternal in the fleeting, or rather than seeking the peace of being, or rather than recognizing the peace of being in in the peace of being itself, rather than recognizing it in thought or in experiences, we can recognize it in peace itself. You will not discover the ocean in the drop of water or in the stream or in the clouds. You will discover the ocean in the ocean. So every drop of water, its love is for the ocean, which is its mother, its source. Let's put it another way. The love of every drop of water is within its recognition as being H2O, which is what the ocean is. Every contemplation that has in it the affinity and the recognition, to whatever degree that is happening, of that does not come and go, is a recognition in the correct direction. And all the unnecessary stuff, or the secondary stuff, or the meaningless stuff, meaning that does not serve you in your journey to God, naturally falls away. So you are sort of like empty-handed, but the heart is full. It's an inner communion, an inner whisper that fills your entire being, which is very different from thoughts filling your mind. It's a never deepening and widening ocean of love and peace. Any questions? Hello, Holly. You write, so if the true self is our natural state, can it be said that a big part of our job is to just get out of the way? Is that part of what's meant by surrender? Yes. Yes. So the self is our true nature, like this open space. And there is a recognition of the peace and of the vastness of being, of the I am. And then the thought arises, oh, well, no, I am this and I want that. So there is, I am this and there is that and I want that. So to recognize that this I am this is just conceptual. It's just a mentation. It's an add-on, an unnecessary add-on, that it has no reality. The reality of thought is not the thought itself. The reality of your night dreams is not your night dreams. It is you, the dreamer. Consciousness is the one reality. So whenever the thought arises and the feeling that comes with it, it's also an arising. I am this and I don't want that. I want this or I don't want that. There is an I am somebody that is arising as a concept and as a precept, as an imagined reality. And as soon as there is that imagined reality that arises, there is multiple forms. And so the stage becomes full of objects and thoughts and forms and feelings. So to think about getting out of the way, in fact, Holly, there is no one to get out of the way. There's the one that gets out of the way is an imaginary one. So there's it's like telling Santa, please get out of the way. You know, Santa is a figment of your imagination. So there's no actual personal self. The personal self that we say should be out of the way is not real. It's never been in the way. So in fact, there is nothing really in the way. But having said that, if you imagine that there is a thief hiding outside of your house, outside of your door, even though there is no thief there, you still feel that there is one, and you suffer the concern and the anxiety, and you're experiencing fear. But in fact, there is no one there, and your fear is all imagined, but still you're experiencing it. See? But so it's sort of a metaphor. In fact, it's more subtle than imagining that there is a thief outside. What you're imagining is there is a person inside. You're imagining there's a person inside, and so therefore, as a result of that, you're feeling concerned about this person. What's going to happen to this person? Is this person going to be happy tomorrow? Is this person happy now? Will this person be happier tomorrow? But all of that, this person is just an ongoing thought, an ongoing series of images that somehow you became so accustomed to believe that this is me, this is I consciousness, that it takes a lot of looking at it over and over and over and over to see the illusion of it, until it ceases to be your energetic force. It ceases to be what pulls you, what drives you. You see, so the initial I thought, me, you know, the me that's just so pernicious. It's like it's there, sort of, you can't see it. You know, you can see the feelings, you can see your emotions, but you cannot see this I thought. But in fact, I'm saying you can't, but in fact you can. And that's it seems that it's invisible, but it is visible, because as soon as you say I and you ask yourself, what do I mean by I? What is I? Right then and there, you have an opportunity for clarity. If you take the opportunity. If you don't take this opportunity, then yeah, I, is me, and don't bother me. I have to do this and do that and do that. And so there is a series of thoughts and feelings that are right there, that are riding right with the I thought, in the ocean, there are fish that are swimming, and around them there are 30 or 50 little fish that are swimming next to them, and I guess they feed off whatever, but they swim around. They're always there around that fish. So the, the the feelings are right there all around the I thought, and you don't see the I thought. You're only seeing the feelings, and so the feelings, they give you the impression of, yes, there's something happening to me, but you're not even looking at what this me is. It's sort of assumed. It's referred to as the me feeling. It's assumed. It's felt. So there is a need to examine even that. Like, does the fact that there is a me feeling, does that mean that I am that? Does a feeling define me? So contemplation really requires your love, requires your passion, and it's an ever deepening contemplation. It keeps revealing and thinning out as it's revealing, your illusions, your assumptions, your beliefs, and how you're living them. I have a feeling maybe I went away from your question. Is this part of what's meant by surrender? So, surrender, Holly, surrender has the quality of stillness and a willingness to be still, and a willingness to experience the fullness of what is arising without knowing it, without bringing the mind, without telling the mind to come to help you solve a problem. Or mind never solves a problem, because the mind is just a series of thoughts that just keeps spinning. It says, oh, I'm invited to the spin. It'll come and just spin and spin what you're experiencing. If it's a feeling, or if it's a series of thoughts with feelings, the mind will come and thought will come and spin them and says, oh, let me think about this way and think about that way. It must be my mother, my grandfather, my cousin. I need to do this. I need to buy that. I need to sell this. I need to. It's just a spin. So surrender is a willingness to be still, to remain silent, and to experience without knowing, and without an interest in knowing, just to experience the fullness of what is happening, because it is happening, and just see what goes. To remain open to whichever way whatever appears, and you will be I hesitate to say that so you don't have expectations, but you will be happily surprised that the stillness, when you're meeting whatever is happening, with the stillness, with the totality, with your wholeness, God is sitting with you as you. It's very magical, and it's the shining light through that, through your willingness to be still, to fully experience without knowing, without a personal agenda. Then it's God's agenda, and God's agenda is the right agenda. And the mind doesn't need to know it. Okay, Holly. Okay, Holly, beautiful. Hello, Maria. Maria, you're right. Getting out of the way of thought, of wanting to control and look for solutions at the mind level. Still not quite sure. Willingness to experience without knowing. Maria, it's not getting out of the way of thought or wanting to control. It's not so much about getting out of the way. It is remaining fully there. Because getting out of the way is there's still like, in me that wants to get out of the way of thoughts, or there are some bad thoughts, and to get out of the way of thoughts or get out of the way of need to control. No, it's more being fully there, fully present. There meaning right here, right now, but as what? As pure presence, as stillness. Can you just be still? Internally, be silent. Allow whatever is unfolding. If it's thoughts, if it's a need to control arises as a thought and a sensation. And if you're trying to get out of the way, then you're trying to control it by getting out of the way. Getting out of the way is a form of control. What is it that's getting out of the way? Consciousness isn't trying to get out of the way of anything. So it must be some sort of concept. Maria, you're right. Sometimes I feel this anxiety, this sense of unsafety. So it's not getting out of as much as being here fully. Yes. If you're feeling anxiety or unsafety, feel it fully and completely. Fully and completely. Maybe you will start by naming it anxiety or unsafety, but as you're feeling it fully, the label also. When you're experiencing something as a label, you're not really experiencing something. You're experiencing the label. So you experience this feeling, this sensation, fully. Completely, yes. It's scary to feel so fearfully, the sensation of what I am labeling fear. I know, Maria, it is scary, but it's scary when you're standing apart from it. Like, you look over there, you see like a shadow, you think it's a bear, and you're afraid, But when you don't move, when you just stay right there, you will have an opportunity to see it's just a shadow. And even your fears, when you contract around your fear, in a way it's as if you're maintaining your fear. You know how like a mother, she holds her baby when it's like cold or something to keep the baby safe. When you are contracting around your fear, you don't want anything to happen to your fear, then your fear just stays on board. You see, we have to go through the veil of the fear. It's a veil. The fear, if you look at it, most of the time, it is a thinking. There is thinking about me later. Try to notice, for you when you are experiencing the fear. if there isn't, I think that Esther last time said, on behalf of whom am I feeling what I'm feeling? Ask yourself, what is it what does this fear refer to what, to whom? And you will find that it's referring to you, the personal character, Maria, the person. But what is the reality of Maria, the person? Right now, you ask yourself, what is the reality? And you will find that the reality of Maria, the person, doesn't belong to the Maria, the person, which is a thought or an image. There's only one reality, and that is consciousness. So you're right, Maria, sometimes it's unbearable, it's so strong, hard to stay with it, the sensations. Okay, when I say stay with it, I don't mean stay with it as a person. Stay with whatever is happening without defining yourself. It's very important. Because if you're staying as a person, then there is some sort of effort. I'm staying and I can stay, or you're maintaining an impression of a person. So stay with whatever is happening is more like be absent. You're absent, which is different from hiding, or it's different from resisting. You experience the emotion from your absence, because your presence is a sort of absence. Presence is before you have defined yourself to be Maria. So notice that whenever you define yourself to be Maria, you are going to be experiencing the emotions, the negative emotions. And whenever you're experiencing the negative emotions from your openness, as your wholeness, like a borderless presence, just allowing the sensation through your body to sort of be any way it wants. That this negative emotion sort of becomes more and more transparent. You have to trust the teaching, and not the mind. The mind is always repeating, oh, no, be careful. Oh, no, watch out. Oh, what's going to happen to you tomorrow? What's going to happen after tomorrow? That's how the mind operates. You can count on that. Yes, you're right. Yes, understanding is arising. And also allow your body, expand your belly, your shoulders, your back, your chest, your neck, your face. Relax the borders, those edges. Allow them to become more like jellyfish, more like mist, more like dry ice, so that everything you experience arises in that quality of openness and relaxation, and you're not trying to go anywhere or get anywhere or get away from anything. As soon as you want to get away from anything, you've already contracted yourself as somebody. It's already like the battle is already sort of lost, because you're defining yourself. I need to run away. I need to be safe. Safety is an illusion, because consciousness never thinks about safety. Consciousness is complete freedom. It's like the little children in their bedroom. They feel very unsafe because there is a bad fairy, a monster. There is a monster in their closet. So the mom comes and says, "Oh, I'm going to check in the closet. Then I'm going to turn the light on in the bedroom." So we experience a lot of the emotions from that imagination. That there is something out there, and that I am here, a person that is vulnerable. That consciousness is beyond all of that. Doesn't and what you are truly is consciousness. You are that. You are this transparency. You are this reality. You are the reality of being, not what the thought says you are. The scenarios that thought designs and draws and creates, they're all flawed because they have in them the assumption that you are born, but consciousness is not born. Anyways, Maria, thank you for your question. Nice to see you.
Magdi?
Yes, hello, Zoe.
Hi. So when I forget who was talking, maybe Holly, and this just thought came into my head, about kids who have imaginary friends, or the adults say, "Oh, the kid has an imaginary friend." Well, it's like having this person, it's like we're adults having an imaginary friend. Although this friend is not a friend. It seems like as I just inquire, it's my person, it's always negative. I don't know that I can find anything ever um positive about it, as I keep looking and questioning what arises. But yeah, I'm just amazed. I don't know, just gradually and gradually as I keep looking, how now, um, like you were talking about the thinning out of the illusions and the beliefs. And so I was talking with a friend the other day, and I was like, oh, she really thinks she's a person. That whole thing about, oh, I have to be a better person, or, improve myself.
Yes.
And it was like another little thread snapped. Um, my question has to do, I think it was last song you were talking about this vasana of giving and holding, that it's a really strong one. And I've been looking at that and, realizing how what still comes up is thinking that I have to plan for anything. I'm not the doer. Um, and just remembering as a child how just there was more flow, and now there's this thinking that I have to plan. And if you could just talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, but before that, about having an imaginary friend,
Yeah.
children having imaginary friends, we in a way we do the same. As adults, we have a lot of
Yes.
imaginary friends, and we are the imaginary me, and that's the imaginary me.
Yes.
I think maybe, like, I feel comfortable saying that children are less obsessed with the imaginary me. At least the ones that have an imaginary friend, they care much more about their imaginary friend than about me.
Yeah.
We are more into this imaginary me, and even when you you love this imaginary me as an adult, um, there's still a concern. A lot of people love themselves. They love themselves, but what they really love is the image, because that's or a series or a body of images, and it's always a concern, because images, they can change on you, they can flip on you so quickly. It fall on your head, you could bump your head, and suddenly it's a totally different body of images. Or you could start having a pot belly, and your images start to. So there is always a concern, even in your seeming happiness, about your images. Then the hair starts to turn gray. There are some wrinkles. We try to cover them up, and our vision starts to shift. And so uh, even happy images, that's just a story. There are no.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing, that, even that, it's like what appears to be pleasing or whatever, it's not. It's fearful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, in, in terms of I think I was talking about like gratitude and not holding and giving. There is a powerful vasana about our 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 property, our money, our the physical realm. We hold on, we grab. There are extreme cases of people that hoard, hoarders who just see anything. They want to have it. It's sort of that sense of security is connected in one aspect of that. It's connected with having things, which is always mentation, because there is consciousness doesn't have or not have, or it's ridiculous to have something. That concept doesn't exist in reality. It only exists in the conceptual realm, in the mental realm. And as we have sort of said yes to that, when we say yes to the concept of possession, of having, we've said yes to the personal self. It's a package deal. The person and my things, my house, my car, my home, my money, all of that is one huge vasana, which is connected to the I thought. And it is part of what God has gifted us in our contemplation. We have been given that, like it's sort of one of God's gifts. And so it's how we live it, At some point in our contemplation of truth, we have to also cross that veil, the veil of having, of possessing, of grabbing, of hoarding. And there comes a point where we understand, where we realize that everything that is given, that appears, that is so-called given, because there's nothing given, because God does not give. God is, and His complete bountifulness is. God doesn't give you the breath. God is the breath. So it comes a point where this whole concept of giving and receiving, we realize that we're just a channel. We're part of the expression, God's expression. And God's expression is that of gratitude, giving, generosity, creating. And there is fear around losing our wealth. There is a fear which is connected to what's going to happen to me in the future, which is like complete mentation. And in that fear, there is the belief that personal goods are created by a person and belong to a person. There is that whole vasana of personal doer, personal haver, and personal possessor, personal decider, etc. And in that vasana, there is the light of God, the light of grace is not shining. It's absent.
Mm.
So the invitation is to open yourself up, open that vasana up, so the light of God can shine through and dissolve it. And as you start doing this contemplation, it's not a theoretical contemplation. You have to also live it. You have to live it in your life. You have to be generous in your life. Generosity is a very, very important practice. Use that word, practice. A very important part of your sadhana. But I think you had more to your question than that. Can you refresh my mind here?
Well, no, I think you're getting it. You know, that was what was coming up. I was listening to the last or the satsang before where you spoke about that, and just realizing, you know, that's coming up for me in terms of just daily living things and thinking, you know, I have to plan this, and then realizing, well, but wait a minute, I'm not the doer. And yeah, do I need to hold on to anything?
Right.
No, it's been gifted to me. And but
Yes.
still there's this like you said, this little fear comes up. Okay, well, if I spend money on this, then
Yes.
it's gonna, you know, then something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah. You know, you have to live and trust your love for truth.
Yeah.
When you love truth, then you live your love. You do whatever is needed to be close to your love, to celebrate your love for truth, and to deepen, if one could say that, you know, your love for truth and your celebration of truth and your understanding. And you will find various ways the I thought arising to argue some sort of argument on behalf of the personal self, on behalf of me in time. And so your love for truth must win this battle. You get
Yeah.
put this way.
Yes.
And
Yeah, that's one thing that came to me, you know, when I was contemplating this. It's like, okay, well, if I was gonna die this moment, or, you know, this body, and I couldn't, what, you know, what would my choice be? And that kind of, it's just like cuts it right to the,
beautiful.
yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot of wisdom in what you just shared, because it's true that this body in this very moment, you know, could be in the last few minutes.
Yeah.
And so how, it's not about regret about the past, but how am I living now? How am I living now? Where am I banking? Where am I
Yeah.
directing my love and my attention? Because there is no tomorrow. It's just always in how you're living now. And the so-called tomorrow is just the now blooming. It's how you're living as consciousness right now that blooms. If you're living conscious right now as a me and my time and my life and my money and my concerns, then that's your next now, in a way, you know.
Yeah.
Speaking, relatively speaking, really. And as you're living your present moment in celebrating the love for truth and celebrating the reality of consciousness, saying, yes, I recognize that the I am is not a man or a woman, that I am is God's light, is God's grace. I didn't decide even to blink these eyes, and yet they're blinking. I didn't decide to breathe this breath, and yet it's breathing. I didn't decide the weather, and yet here it is. I didn't decide the temperature, and here it is. You realize that, yes, it is God's light. And I think maybe in Christian tradition, they say I'm an instrument of God, or and I like to use the term instrument because it's a little bit too dualistic. I'm God's light shining as God's light. God's light only shines as the light. It's beyond the mind. So you recognize the light, and the light shines everywhere, and it's not holding. It's not holding. And there is freedom in living the giving, living the being the channel of the light. And it's an effortless giving. It's like the teaching, comes through you, not by you. And the love comes through you. It's not by you.
You had said something also last time that I had asked you about, that we have to step up when those tendencies arise. And so that's, been really
Yes.
foremost in my mind. And exactly what you said, the mind comes up with a million reasons.
Yeah.
To not do the opposite of its tendency.
Right. So you find your way. It's your own contemplation. We each have our own way in contemplating what arises for us. And you will find your way, but you get the general meaning of it, and you do your best with it. You live it as best you can. Trust the teaching.
Yeah, I do. I see it. It's magnificent. Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, Zoe. There's a powerful rain all around here now. The wind and the rain.
Can you turn your camera to show us the storm just for a minute?
Well, it's dark, so.
Oh, it's dark already. That's right.
Can you see? Oh,
Yeah.
it's too dark.
Yeah, but it's mysterious looking. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful blue light coming through the trees.
Yeah. Yes.
It was a beautiful satsang. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you all. Very lovely to be with you. Okay. See you soon. Namaste.
Namaste.